What's up, everybody? Kyle Barboza here, bass player, music educator, and today we're talking about Robert DeLeo. And Rob DeLeo is maybe one of the greatest bass players in rock history. He's a bass player from Stone Temple Pilots. He was their principal songwriter, and he was well known as someone who used his knowledge of straight-ahead jazz and the blues to influence his songwriting in their chord progressions, in their chord voicings, in his bass lines, and all of it just kind of comes out to make their music really unique and interesting. And I want to touch on one fill that he plays that I think could and should change the way you look at playing the bass and the way you look at music in general. And we're going to go to the song Creep, which was off their first album. And in particular, the bass fill that he plays that leads into the second verse. All right, let's take a listen to it. Okay, so that fill right there that he ends up in sounds like this. Really cool little fill, but you might be like, yeah, all right, it's a cool fill. What about that should be changing my mind in some way about bass playing? And there's two main reasons why. All right, first, this fill employs chromaticism, and it uses tension versus resolution to make that fill sound way more interesting than something that might be pentatonic. So by pentatonic, I mean like that kind of like standard rock sound that we usually use as bass players, this scale. Right? A fill like that would have sounded perfectly serviceable. That's a pretty decent fill for that spot in the song, but Rob takes it a step further by employing chromaticism. That is, he's using the notes that are in between the notes in the scale, and he's stepping down to each one in succession, one fret at a time, all right, or one half step at a time. Things like that are called chromaticism or using the chromatic scale. The chromatic scale is just when you play every note in an octave. Right? He's using that like this. Check it out. The first two, the next two. He plays some notes in between to give it a little bit of an angle, but that fill, using the chromatic scale, creates a little bit of tension in the music, a little feeling of unsettledness that, to me, is the thing that makes great art great. I mean art in general. I mean film, I mean painting, I mean music. All great art employs feelings of tension and then resolves those feelings, and that's what makes it great. The way that steps down note by note just takes you on it just gives it a feeling of stretching the music out before he resolves it on that nice low E. That is so smart. That little bit of tension is something that is sorely missed in most rock and pop music today. I think it's been missed in music for a long time, especially in popular and dance music. But employing that technique just makes the music a little more interesting. That's what makes Stone Temple Pilots so interesting. Okay, now the second reason why I think this fill is so cool is that he's using the sixths and the sevenths of the chord to make it sound cool. And I'm talking about this note again. Okay, this D sharp is actually the major seventh in that minor chord. And it's the major seventh because it's the seventh scale degree of the E major scale. It's pulled from the E major scale, but he's using it on this minor chord. It actually, that major 7th chord gives you this sound. Check it out. This is a minor chord with a major 7th on it. It has that like James Bond spy chord thing, okay? It has that sound because of that dissonance it creates in the chord. It's really cool to employ that note in a minor fill. Check out another fill that might have that note in it. Okay, that was just kind of going down the scale, but using that note in there. Check out another one. Right? That note adds so much to it. The other note that he's got in there, he's got both the natural 6, the C sharp. Again, that means the natural 6 or the major 6 means we're pulling that C sharp from the E major scale onto this minor chord. And then he goes to the minor 6th. Right? Those notes, again, can both be employed in your fills as a way to make them sound a little more flavorful, a little more angular. Just sounds really cool. Check out that the major 6 in a fill here on the E minor chord. Okay, something like that, or it just adds so much to it. Here's the minor 6th. Right? It adds something that the pentatonic scale cannot. It just has more flavor. And the fact that this fill, let's go back to his fill, has both that feeling of chromaticism, it's leading us back into the E minor chord in a cool way, and it's using those flavor notes. Guys, Robert DeLeo is an incredible bass player. It doesn't take chops. It doesn't take crazy technique. It takes a little bit of using your ear and using some tension in the music, not being afraid to explore some new notes and new sounds to create something that's really interesting. And I hope that helps you guys just kind of put that in the back of your mind. Put that tool in your toolbox the next time you're writing bass lines, writing grooves, because it can make the music sound so much cooler. Thanks, Rob. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Give it a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed this and you got something out of it. Take care.